Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Fitmint Shorts. And I have Zaid with me today. Zaid is a very old time friend. It's great to see you, man, again
Great
and
to see you
speak
too.
to you. So Fitmint Shorts is basically, and I'll just introduce it in one line. Fitmint Shorts is a video series that we created at Fitmint. And Fitmint is an app where you get rewards in cryptocurrency for working out. It's a Web3 app. We'll be launching in a couple of weeks now. Very excited about that. So if you guys are interested, you can just go to our Discord server, our Twitter, and there are a bunch of ways where you can get access to the app. It will have limited access in the beginning to about 1,000 odd users. Uh, since this is a fitness community, we do get a lot of questions about fitness from people. And in this particular episode, I decided that there's something, I've been following Zed for a while, and there's something that I learned from Zed. And I decided that we'll use this call to explore it. Before we get started, Zed, if you could quickly introduce yourself to the community.
Sure, man. First of all, congratulations on the app. It sounds amazing. It sounds like a great concept. I can't wait to be a part of it also, for that matter.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And yeah, as far as introducing myself goes, I have been a strength coach pretty much for the last 9 years almost. So almost 9 years, 8 years going on. And I've also specialized in nutrition. So most of my clients, most of the people who I work with are mostly concerned with, the usual weight loss, muscle gain, etc.
Yeah.
More importantly, I tend to dive a little deeper into the research and the science-backed, evidence-backed aspects of fitness, basically. So there is a fair bit of reading involved, and you've chosen a great topic to discuss as well for today, for that matter. And yeah, so basically 9 years going on, almost 9 years going on as a coach, and hope to give some of that value to you and your customer base today as well.
Awesome. So just to quickly introduce the topic, and I've been following fitness in general for a while, trying to learn a fair bit myself. Of course, nothing at the level at you do. And one of the things that I learned from you is around how weight loss works, and how, while we can talk about different kinds of diets, and uh, you should eat a certain kind of food and not eat a certain kind of food. And I love the fact that you constantly speak about not demonizing certain kinds of food groups. And I absolutely love that, because I love pizza, and I'm like, no matter how fit or whatever health goals I have in life, I do not want to give that up, because
I
I
make
find
sure.
a lot of value there, right? But yeah, what we are going to discuss is that what actually it boils down to in terms of losing weight and the maths behind how it works. uh, so yeah, Zed, over to you.
All right, perfect. So when we're talking about the maths behind weight loss, it comes down to one very simple equation. And I'm sure that a lot of people these days are aware of this equation, because I tend to, every time I open my Instagram and I'm going through some reels, I tend to at least come across 5 of them on this topic. So I mean, I'm probably exaggerating, but yeah, like it seems to be a concept that has recently become very popular. And for that matter, it's good that it's becoming popular, because more people
Mhm.
need to know about it. So the very basic concept behind weight loss is that you need to have a balance between the calories coming in, so the calories that you're consuming, and the calories that are going out, the calories that you're burning, right? So whenever there is an imbalance in either one of them, either one being higher or lower, there is either weight gain or weight loss. So let's say that you're consuming more calories than you're burning. Obviously, there is a net positive effect in terms of calories in your body. Now, those calories, they need to be stored somewhere in your body, right? They can't just
Mhm.
disappear. Like energy, it
Right.
has to change from one form to another.
Right.
So that energy gets stored in your body. Now, depending on physiological factors, environmental factors, depending on your own genetics, as well as your lifestyle factors, whether you train or not, what kind of nutrition do you have, where are your calories, mostly coming from, etc. Like all of these points, they do matter
Mhm.
to a certain degree, but mainly like when you have a net positive, in terms of calories in your body, they get stored, and they get stored either as fat or as muscle mass, right? And other substrates as well, but not at that much of an extent. So the whole point being that when you are chasing weight loss of any kind, you need to make sure that the calories out component is always higher than the calories in component, right? Now you can achieve that in two ways. You either increase the amount of activity that you're doing and keep the intake the same as you used to, or you increase the amount of intake that you have and keep the activity at the same level, right? Or increase the activity, whatever. Basically, making sure that the calories out are always higher than the calories in. So this is what we call a caloric deficit. This is something that I've seen in my experience. A lot of people are very able to do from Monday to Friday afternoon, I would like to say. And from Friday evening to Sunday night, we basically think that, okay, these calories, they don't really matter because they're just, weekend calories.
Yeah.
This is where the math actually starts kicking in, because now we need to understand that it's not just on a daily basis that you need to be on a deficit for. You need to think from like in the micro perspective as well as in the macro perspective. Like you need to think from both perspectives. Like, are you on a deficit from week to week? And if you're on a deficit from week to week, obviously you're going to be on a deficit from month to month. And then obviously from whatever amount of that you're in a deficit for. Also, side note, I don't recommend being on a deficit in a never-ending fashion for too long. You need to phase it out. You need to phase it out between fat loss and maintenance phases. Separate conversation though. Now, as far as the math behind this is concerned, so you need to make sure that on a daily basis, if you're on a deficit, it's a given that on a weekly basis you will be on a deficit. However, what ends up happening, for example, is that let's say that you have 2,000 calories to spare every day, right? You burn 2,000 calories on a daily basis. Now, in order to be on a deficit, in order to lose some weight, you start eating 1,500 calories. You're very aware that I burn 2,000 calories a day. Let me eat 1,500 so that I can lose some weight over the week, right? And there's a separate calculation that goes into determining how much weight every week that you'll be losing, which we can dive into if we have more time. But let me just tackle this topic for now. So you're on a 500 calorie deficit from day to day, right? So let's say that from Monday to Friday afternoon, you've eaten 1,500 calories. Or let's say from Monday to Friday, you've eaten 1,500 calories on an average. That's 5 days, 500 into 5. That's a 2,500 calorie deficit that you have created, right? Now comes Saturday and Sunday, and you just say that, okay, you know what, like I have done so much over this week, I've definitely lost some weight. And it's true, you will see a difference, maybe not very significant, but you will see some difference in your body, in your physique at the end of the week, right? And definitely some fluctuations in weight as well. So now you will think that, okay, you know what, I've lost some weight. Now I can reward myself a little bit. I've been good, right? And this is why I hate the concept of being good and being bad. Like it's food. You cannot label it like that, right? And labeling it is what leads to a lot of disordered eating habits. In any case, that's a 2,500 calorie deficit that you created over the week. Now comes Saturday and Sunday, and you end up eating 2,000 being your maintenance. You eat 4,000 calories on both of these days. Now you might think that, okay, 4,000 is too much. Like how will I ever eat that many calories? But in a very typical night out that I have seen people engage in that one outing, they tend to eat anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 to maybe 3,500 calories in that one outing. So that's just one dinner with maybe drinks or whatever that you engage in, right? So it's very, very common to see that this is what we call eating into your deficit. So now 2,000 calories being your maintenance, you have eaten 4,000 on Saturday and Sunday. That's a 2,000 calorie surplus on both of these days, right? You probably just eaten 2 pizzas for lunch, and you've had maybe a burger and some fries for dinner, and you've had some, shakes and, anything to just spruce up your dinner and your lunch maybe a little bit. and then you've gone for brunch on Sunday. You know, there's like n number of iterations that can lead to this, and it's not very uncommon to see that this is actually the number of calories that you may end up eating when you know, you eat ad libitum, which is with no regards to portion sizes whatsoever. So so this is where you have eaten 2,000 calories on a surplus on Saturday and Sunday. That's a 4,000 calories surplus that you have created in 2 days, right? So the positive, the surplus side now has 4,000 calories. The calories inside has 4,000 calories. The calories out, which is the calorie deficit that you created from Monday to Friday, had 2,500. So 4,000 and 2,500. The net effect of this is that you're on a 1,500 calorie surplus for the week, right? That's a 200 calorie surplus per day. Now, what do you imagine is going to happen? From week to week, you're going to gain weight rather than losing weight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe not from 1 week to the next, but definitely from 1 month to the next, you will see yourself gaining weight. And most importantly, you won't see yourself losing weight, you know? And that is where the problem happens, because that is where people start becoming frustrated with the process. They tend to think that, oh, you know what? I'm doing so much from, you know, whatever, from Monday to Friday, I'm doing so much. You know, it is so much. Like, it is an effort to eat a particular way from like Monday to Friday, especially with like everything that's going on. You have work pressure, you have stresses from every different direction, especially on the weekdays. On the weekends, you're a little more relaxed, and then you want to cash in on that relaxation, right?
Correct.
So that's the thing, like because this is an added stressor that you have, it's very easy to get rid of this stressor. You start thinking that, okay, this is not working, you know, like this diet thing, calories thing, it's not working. So then comes in the different kinds of iterations of diets, which is, okay, let me try the ketogenic diet, and let me try Atkins diet, and let me try the Mediterranean diet, or whatever, right? Like whatever that they haven't tried before, because the basic concept that they were engaging in, that itself was flawed. And now whatever they engage in post that, it might not yield the same results, or it might give them the results that they want, because now the minute someone starts doing a ketogenic diet, is they tend to take away 90% of the things that they were eating on Saturday and Sunday.
Correct. Yeah.
And they've taken away most of that. And now because they've taken away most of that, what ends up happening? You are no longer eating into your deficit. Your deficit is still there from Monday to Friday. 2,500 calories, that's still there. Most probably even Saturday and Sunday are being spent on a deficit, right?
Correct.
The result of that is that there will be weight loss. And this is what people tend to not grasp. Like, this is where people tend to think that, okay, you know what, if you want to lose weight, ketogenic diets are the only way, because that happened to me. Like, I was tracking calories first, and then I stopped tracking calories and I just did keto, and I lost all the weight. You wouldn't lose weight irrespective of, like, you wouldn't lose weight without calories playing a role within it. Like, calories are always involved, whether you track or not. Like, tracking does not mean losing weight. Tracking just means quantifying what you're eating. It just puts a number, it just puts data in the equation, which is so important, because you need to also be aware of what exactly you're doing and where your weight is going, right?
Yeah.
You can adjust as per that. Yeah, sorry, please go.
So Zaid, let me ask you this. So I understood the how the formula works, and you have to be on a deficit. But for someone who doesn't have this background, right? And let's say I just want to get started on tracking these numbers now. But how would I even get to know what I'm eating? What is the calorie value of what I'm eating?
So that's actually a great question. And for that matter, like, this is actually something that a lot of people tend to face difficulties with initially when they're starting to track calories. The easiest way is to download an app. So MyFitnessPal and Healthify.me being the two most common ones that people use these days. I lean a little more towards MyFitnessPal than Healthify.me, because I like the measurements to be a little more accurate. And Healthify.me tends to have certain certain arbitrary measurements as well, like Calorie and Bowl. Not that MyFitnessPal doesn't, right? Not that MyFitnessPal doesn't, but then if you have, even if in either of these apps you can quantify it in grams, whatever you're eating. If you can quantify in terms of weight, that's the best way to go about it.
Got it.
So yeah, like if you can download an app, I think that'll be the first step into calorie tracking. And then remember that we're not looking for perfection. So we're not looking for being like constantly accurate. We're looking for consistency. If you're measuring 100 grams of rice at 110 calories on day 1, keep measuring 100 grams of rice at 110 calories even on day 95, right? It shouldn't be that day 1 it's 110 calories and on day 95 it's 97 calories, and in somewhere in the middle it was 46 calories because you felt like, okay, you know what, I think I should track it as lower calories today because I ate too much of it. So yeah, shouldn't be.
All right. Zaid, one last follow-up question. So you mentioned, so to me as a layman, theoretically, it seems that I should probably do this over a year, and I'm going to see fantastic results. But what caught my attention, and you said that this is not something you would recommend, to be on a calorie deficit indefinitely. Just a little bit on probably why that is.
Great. So this is actually one of the most common mistakes that people make. That, you know, it's called short-sightedness, actually, if you ask me, because see, you're not going to live in your body for the next 1 year. You're looking to live in your body for the rest of your life, right? Basically, take it as you have the rest of your life to get to where you really want to be. Now, if that sounds too much to you, take your time. Like if you have 10 kgs to lose, for example, nothing's going to happen to you by losing it in 1 year. Like no one's going to come and congratulate you. Maybe people will come and say that, oh, you look so different from what you did last year. And then, you know, those comments will spur you on even further. But that's actually not really a good thing always, you know. So this is where people tend to start developing really bad eating habits as well. So when you go on a calorie deficit indefinitely, you're doing two things to yourself. One, your metabolic adaptation is going to be slightly more severe than if you were to take maintenance breaks in between. So metabolic adaptation doesn't just mean that. So metabolic adaptation is basically a process by which your body starts burning lesser and lesser calories while it stays on a deficit, right? It starts adapting to the lower calories, basically. Now, that doesn't mean that you burn lesser calories at rest necessarily. So the BMR, the basal metabolic rate, which is the number of calories you'd burn without any activity in the day, that doesn't lower by that much. Lowers to a certain degree, but not by a huge margin as far as the evidence goes. The evidence suggests that the NEAT levels start to take a toll. So what NEAT means is the non-exercise activity. So any unplanned activity. So and every time you're moving, you're changing positions in your chair, that's also being counted as NEAT. Every time you're fidgeting your hands, you know, I'm moving my hands while I'm speaking, that's also NEAT, right? Anytime I get up to go get a glass of water, come back and sit down, NEAT. So, you know, non-exercise activity, that tends to take a hit and takes a huge hit, you know, when you're on a deficit for too long, or even when you're on a deficit normally. This is why the importance of tracking your steps while being on a deficit is so much. Like this is why we tend to reiterate on, you know, getting a certain number of steps daily while you're on a calorie deficit. Definitely burning more calories in the process, but also remember that, you know, there is a certain level of activity that you're at right now. And if you don't maintain that level of activity while you're on the deficit, the deficit is going to be slightly lower than what we had presumed. So the weight loss is going to become slower and slower and slower until that goes. You know?
Got it.
So, yeah.
And so I think that is something people, if you're tracking, you would be able to understand when you're starting to hit a plateau, right? And what do you do when you hit that plateau?
So that's where the second part of the thing. So I said that there are two reasons. One was metabolic adaptation, and the second part of the equation was frustration. Basically. So being never-ending deficit is just very, very frustrating, right? Because of two reasons. One, you're inevitably going to hit a plateau with your weight loss, right? And it stays for a while. And you can't do much about it at that point, except that, okay, maybe you can reduce your calories further, but then if you're already eating very low calories, what do you do from there? You know, there are certain points where reducing your calories further might just mean that, you know, you're really starving yourself in order to get somewhere. So not always the right recommendation to lower your calories. So when this frustration comes as a result of that, Like you're doing everything right. You're doing everything that you were supposed to. And you're still not seeing the weight loss, or the weight loss has slowed down and it's not to the level where you expected it to be. And just the fact that how much longer do I need to be eating like this? You will inevitably ask yourself that. You will think that, when does this end? So this is why having a maintenance phase in the middle is so important. So even when you hit a plateau, get down to maintenance. Start building the habits that are going to keep that weight off.
So by maintenance, you mean if my calorie burn on a daily basis is 200, I just start eating, 2000, I start eating 2000 calories a day. Not higher, not lower, for some amount of time. Got it.
And remember that this is also going to be on not an absolute value. So it's not that on Monday it's 2000 and on Friday again it's 2000 and every day of the week it's 2000 exactly. It's going to range between plus and minus 10% of 2000. So depending on your activities for the day, depending on a certain, like even for that matter, depending on the kind of nutrition you're getting from your food. So even that plays a role in determining how many calories you're burning every day.
Got it. And to understand what my maintenance level is, probably apps like My Fitness Pal is going to help figure that out, that number out.
There is obviously these apps give their recommendation as well. There is an equation that you can use called the Muller equation that also helps in calculating maintenance calories. But the best way that you can calculate maintenance calories or that maintenance range is when you're tracking. So when you see your weight loss plateauing, when you see that your weight is remaining the same on an average, not on fluctuations, on an average from 1 week to the next, and then from the week and the week after that. So over a period of 3 to 4 weeks, if you see that your weight is constant at a certain level, that is most probably within your maintenance range of calories. And then you start making adjustments according to that. So there are certain ways to counter plateaus. There's something called a reverse diet that we also use at times. There's maintenance phases. There's a lot of ways to counter plateaus. Even tweaking someone's workout program at times, reducing someone's activity level at times also tend to help sometimes, So these things also tend to help. There are there's a lot of different psychological effects also that come into the picture when you're on a plateau. So people tend to overcompensate by going too hard in the gym. When they start seeing a plateau, they start spending more time in the gym. Your body is not good. Your body is actually really, really smart. If you start spending too much time in the gym, it is going to adapt to that as well. And then it's going to lower the number of calories you burn for that same number of hours that you were working out there. So it's not, you don't have a way around it. You have to give yourself time. Like there is consistency is the only key here. There is no fast tracking the process. I do believe in fast tracking fat loss. So the fat loss phases, I do believe in making them as quick as possible. For that, what that means is accelerate the fat loss as much as possible, but keep the fat loss phases short. For that matter, I don't keep more than 3 weeks of a fat loss phase in any program. So 3 weeks on fat loss, then 2 weeks or 1 week on maintenance, again 3 weeks on fat loss, 2 or 1 week on maintenance. Phase it out like that. So you always have a maintenance phase to look forward to, and you don't get frustrated in the process.
I can just hearing that 3 weeks of fat loss and 1 week of maintenance, it already sort of feels a little bit calming in the sense that you have a not too stressed out week coming up probably in that way.
And that's exactly the point. Like you need to remember that. That's exactly the point.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zaid, for your time. I'm sure this is going to be very, very helpful. And even I got to learn about the maintenance phase, which I didn't know of before. What's the best place for sort of Fitmint's community to come and see you so that they can learn a little bit more about these kind of things?
Awesome. So I think I'm fairly active on Instagram. I wouldn't say that I'm very active because at the moment I was struggling to be active there, but now I'm bringing that activity back, if that makes sense. But yeah, Instagram at Zaid Arfan. That's where you can find me. And Twitter, I think, is the same handle, if I'm not wrong.
Awesome. We'll link that up in the description. Thanks, Zaid. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for this. See you. Take care.
Take care.